no-nonsense protection against jumps. Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome to Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight, what defines the relationship between the Ugandan business sector and government? Is government responding to the challenges the business sector is facing? In the recent past, the business community in Uganda has been up in arms about the failure by government to address some of the internal and cross-border bottlenecks that they face. Some time back, some traders closed down their businesses in protest over several issues, including the hiking of trade licenses, trade disorder in South Sudan, and related complaints of not being paid, to mention but a few. Towards the end of last year, traders in Kampala again went on strike over the pre-inspection verification arrangement, and government suspended its implementation. But traders still say that it is still a serious challenge. At that time, they also complained about lack of credit and the high interest rates imposed on loans they had acquired previously. Now, there are other challenges that they face, but they have complained mostly about those that hamper progress in the business sector, including bottlenecks reported about often in the World Bank doing business report. With the coming into force of the East African Common Market Protocol and the East African Customs Union Protocol, the local business sector has been raising key issues that they say need to be addressed by the Ugandan government. Now, the business sector plays a key role by providing revenue that would sustain the economy, and it is important to ensure that they are operating in a good environment. In this era of stiff competition in both regional and international trade, it is important for government to provide trade facilitation. So tonight on Spectrum, we look at how the Ugandan business sector and government can work together to deal with the challenges that continue to frustrate doing business in Uganda. Our guests tonight, Dr. Annet Kutees, a research fellow at the Makerere University-based Economic Policy Research Center. You're most welcome, Dr. Kutees.
Thank you.
We also are joined by Mr. Issa, Sekitto, spokesman of the Kampala City Traders Association. You're most welcome, Mr. Sekitto.
Thank you, and good evening, listeners.
Dr. Kutees, how sensitive is the Ugandan government to private business?
I think the Ugandan government is very sensitive because private sector, and which constitutes business, is the backbone of this country. So the government is very, very sensitive.
Do they go far enough?
I think in some way they do. In some ways they fail to go far enough, not because they do it intentionally, but I think it's because of the capacities that surround them that make them, that incapacitate them to be able to meet the needs of business.
Do they have a good appreciation of what they are supposed to be doing to help private business?
They do. First of all, they do appreciate business very much. They appreciate business very much because of the revenues they get from business activities. And in many cases, they would try to be able to meet the needs of the business needs. And what will happen is that if at all government is pushed or pressed upon to meet something of the business sector, it may go in and analyze that and be able to meet it, or it may go ahead and just facilitate. But sometimes it's not always that happens. Sometimes it's unable to do that.
And where do they fall short in your view?
In my view, there are several things as to why they may fall short. One is because they don't have the capacity to be able to analyze fully the impact of the needs that business has brought to the table. Because in as much as government wants to support business, it must be able to, whatever it implements must be able to support the wider community and the development of the country. So sometimes they don't have the capacity. Sometimes these capacities in terms of resources, especially human resource, they are understaffed. Sometimes they don't have the time to actually deal with let's say the demands that are presented to them by the private sector.
Can you paint for us a better picture of what private business can expect from government, apart from collecting taxes from them every so often, sometimes in the iron hand?
Okay. There are so many things that private sector may expect from government. One is proper functioning of roads. Those are things that we see every day. You tend to see a lot of potholes here and there. And then they expect if I take my stuff to Malaba, or if I have to go through Malaba, it has to be cleared really fast. They expect government to be able to provide electricity security, to also be able to provide information on so many things, and also not to to have reduced taxes enough to help them be able to run their businesses.
So private businessmen don't expect to see a lot of potholes.
I don't think when you hear them talk, everybody wants good roads, even those who
of tarmac going down up the coffee farms and the cabbage gardens. Talk to us, Mr. Sekitto. What are your expectations from government?
Well, everybody would expect good service in terms of infrastructure, to mention the roads, electricity for the industrialization, and therefore to match with the 10-year and above song of value addition. We would expect that we would get a fair tax regime where you would not only look at the taxes but also be accountable for it. When the URA collects, somebody should be there to explain how did we demarcate and what is the performance overall. We expect that we would be listened to and involved, not at a level of observer status. The public-private approach system has been on. A policy was tabled here as to whether it is operational, that there is an implementable framework for the government and the private sector to operate together, is something that we are waiting to see, both regionally and locally here. Because when you look at the private sector involvement in all whatever is being done in the East African community, for example, is observer status, the legal fraternity, the business council, talk about these other non-state actors, the civil society. They are all in observer status. Things are being done by the government operatives. We would also expect that when we go to trade, when we go to do business outside, there is a cover up for the challenges that we would meet by government. I will tell you that in 2007 we had elections in Kenya. It rained violence after, and Ugandans lost approximately $40 million US. That's not little money. When you talk to the government of Kenya, the president in the corridors will say, please, can the government officials push hard, because this is not my money. For example, if you talk to the president today, he was the Minister of Finance then, when we lodged the complaint, he will tell you, this is not my money. The money belongs to Kenyans. So if the government of Uganda cannot push hard, how can I get the money to be paid? You push, and they will need that you demonstrate. So the response seems to be coming out of a very hard shot. Look at the case of Sudan. Until you threaten, you lay the traps for a demonstration, is when someone will think that something needs to be done. If it happened to any of the other member states, Rwanda, Kenya, no. A very powerful delegation would be in Juba and things would be ironed out. So we do expect that we also receive the reciprocity that it takes. If I'm treated well here, or if I treat a Kenyan, Sudanese Kenyan here well, how would I be treated in the same way in Kenya or in the respective countries? We would also expect that at all levels of policy formulation, the issues of the private sector are taken on board. You mentioned PIVOC. It is unfortunate that while we raised very salient issues surrounding PVOC, today the number of goods in the fake category are increasing.
The number of
fake goods,
yes.
substandard goods, after this implementation of PVOC is on the rise.
Pre-import
verification. You know why government has deliberately started to isolate some bigger companies and give them exemptions? There is a serious investigation that I have a number of letters. When you take them to the Honorable Minister of Trade, she will say, no, I'm not aware about this Chinese company who gave it an exemption. They are flowing in.
Some people is giving exemptions when the minister knows nothing about it.
And when you talk to the executive director, will say, no, I'm not aware. I'm prosecuting
powers from above
documents. And this is very unfortunate, because if the 4 containers are tested and the 40 or 400 per annum are coming into the country without...
So let's get this clear.
Yes.
Someone is importing counterfeit goods.
Exactly. And
with authority that is above the minister.
Exactly.
But nobody knows it.
Yes. And there is a serious investigation, by the way.
Does that happen in other countries?
We are choosing...
Does that happen? Is that normal?
No, it is. For as long as we approved that PVOC must start, we gave ourselves timeline, we pulled the rope. Government had the issues, the traders had the issues, and we agreed, said, let us move. 1st of July, let us all pre-test. Currently, when you look at this program, it is being abused by the very technical people who made it by exempting those with huge items and goods. A person bringing in 40 containers in 2 months does not test. One with the 2 must test.
They check everything. Up to the bottom. They check the boxes.
We are not taking this lightly, and we have invoked
Let's
the
get
powers.
this very, very clearly. Somebody brings in 40 containers.
Yes.
They just wave them per bag. So another local investor brings in 2 containers.
Must test.
And they check everything up to the bottom.
And we have substance in this allegation, because we have already handed over the reports and the fake letters to the SIU unit. We hope this time it will act soberly, investigate fully, and as if that were not enough, while this happens for goods that you get where they're ready from the source, there are those that have transferred their technology here and they are manufacturing the fake goods here.
Like what goods are they?
Fuel, hoys.
Some people are manufacturing homes.
Yeah, go to Matuga here.
In their garages.
Go to all the road to Bombo. Many factories have emerged. Non-conformity reports from NEMA, non-conformity reports from UNBS, and they are massively producing. So you go to Ginger Road. Plastic shoes, if you wear them for a week or 2, I'm sure you'll have got a problem. You have got a problem on the feet. So when you tell
plastic shoes,
yes,
you buy them on Good Friday, but Easter Monday you are in trouble.
Substandard, because NEMA has not yet approved their plans. UNBS has approved. They have said they are not up to standard, but they are producing that. They are studying them. We don't know for how long. So it is very.
Do they have military guards at their gate?
Yes, they do. And if you try to go there, we got reports that they are harassing the workers inside. They are producing. We even got samples with some security organs. What these people have done, they have now caused a lot of accusations, this and that. They are intimidating the police. Police.
Who can intimidate police? Talk to us about that.
I'm telling you this. Anyway, that's the bigger perspective. I was showing you how and what would expect out of that.
I thought police represented the law.
I'm sure the section where I am, if they want to sit on the truth, I will not allow them. The section of the police, the SIU that have given these reports, you can imagine, you get a letter signed by the executive director of UNBS. You call him, you ask him, how do people get exemption? Is a private
and he knows nothing about it.
He says yes, if it's the statutory body or if the minister so approves. You call the honorable minister.
They know nothing.
Say, Mr. Issa, how can I approve a fake product? It is me, the best advocate of people. How well? So you find that it's a ridiculous kind of thing. So all the issues mentioned here, talk about the bank rates. Have you seen how government was responsive?
We'll get to that point later. You are describing a scene in a movie, a fiction movie. It's not happening here.
I wish I had come with my file, because for every word I have mentioned, I have evidence. I have evidence.
Powers from above.
I have also seen one of the companies that we are contracted to do the pre-import verification for conformity.
Yes.
Giving warning that this product has failed the test. Warning UNBS.
Yes.
The same company clears it and issues a conformity report after some exchange of
phone calls in the night.
Exactly. And what is happening today, I got information from the UNBS that the people who gave us this information are being tracked by some senior officials of the bureau and the
their conversations are being recorded or what?
For avoidance of jeopardizing our investigations, because you are telling Sekitto that someone is passing without testing, and you know what is passing? Spirits. You know what spirits make?
Go on.
The spirits are for consumables, beers, whatever, wines. So they bring in.
That's weekend.
They come from South Africa, and a non-conformity report is issued. Don't bring to Uganda.
But they come
to Uganda and they clear them.
That sounds like something.
So it is like
from a mafia movie. Let's talk about reality. I would like to still believe it's a dream or a mafia movie from somewhere very far. Talk to us, Dr. Kutees. What do these kind of things mean to you? Do you find them realistic, or do they not happen in your researches?
From what we have seen and what we have observed, and from also the various reports, yes, the things that he suggests, those are things we read about, that it happens.
In fiction movies.
It happens, but the scale that he's talking about it, I don't know. I've not seen really evidence of it. So
you stick to your air-conditioned office.
But I see it.
You don't go out to the field.
People write about it a lot in the newspapers, but we've done a study that actually where people actually did mention that such things do happen. They happen, and it's not necessarily that that government itself is aware, but most of the time it's because it's under capacity. It doesn't have
they have the capacity,
all the stuff to actually not necessarily that because in case some of them actually will say it is just by accident that sometimes that happens.
What containers?
I don't know if they have all the stuff to actually check all that, so I don't have the evidence on that, so I'll not go into so much.
Politically correct.
But
this man comes from the industry. He's describing an appalling situation.
I think it's something that we can actually go out and investigate in our research and fully establish and see how it can be tackled. But one of the organizations we have worked with, the government organizations, and for instance, this was URA Customs, and for them there are issues that sometimes the staff it's just by accident that some of these may slip into the country, but maybe not to that magnitude. It's small.
You're legitimizing some of these things.
No, they themselves also have weaknesses. It's not that some of this is done deliberately, but yes, there is a level of corruption that we have. I mean, even the World Bank establishes that such corruption really exists in the country. There is corruption, but sometimes if it's because I'm sure that it's not only 40 containers, it's even 2 containers can even be approved. Even 1 container can maybe get out of hand, or maybe a small product may get through the systems. And the time when I visited some of one of these bodies, you could really see that they were actually tracking. They're really working hard to do that, but they don't. I think they need more capacity to do that. In terms of staff, the numbers can be very small. Now, like when we went to when we visited some of these ports out like Sudan, the Nimuli, the Mutukula, and so on, we visited
the dry ports inland.
Yeah, the numbers can really be very great. The numbers can be great, and one of the things is that they are doing their best to update the systems and roll out the new systems to be able to record these things that are coming into the country and all that. But it can also be sometimes very challenging. So it's not necessarily all the blame. It's not really you cannot really say that you excuse it, but you can sometimes try to understand it. Although corruption is unforgivable, seriously, corruption is unforgivable. It's something that we should struggle with, that we should tackle, and we should struggle to contain. But when it comes to issues like the ministers and that one I don't have evidence. I can only talk for the people I visited.
Let's talk about the people you visited. The level of corruption. What kind of corruption do you see?
Actually, the people that I visited, corruption was something that was cited. It was something that was cited as an issue to actually, if somebody brings in something, then it's delayed, then maybe you may have to pay something here and there to actually get it approved. But it's not necessarily.
It's not as bad as the World Bank claims.
I'm hearing the evidence. I mean, he has the evidence. He has the evidence.
You want to bring trouble down on EPI.
It is not that I don't want to bring. I just want to speak for my findings. That is what I speak for my findings. But he has the evidence, and as I said, he himself is not willing to share that evidence with us. So I'm thinking that he's also being politically safe. He's trying to be. So I don't know if I should believe it, but yes, corruption is something that happens.
How do we address it in your view, Dr. Kutees?
In my view, I think the new systems really are trying to track that. They're trying to do that in terms of maybe speeding up. They're trying to do that. But I do think that the numbers are very, very necessary. Some of the staff really complained about the salaries.
Oh.
Some of them complained about this. The salaries are very, very small. Yes, the salaries are very small that are given to, especially the districts. They are very, very small, and yet they are required to go around monitoring what is a counterfeit, what is not, what is, all these things. The salaries are so small. The numbers, it's like 2 staff in a district to go around doing that at the district level. So then, of course, then the goods are changing all the time. Today you have this, tomorrow you have a new technology, and so what grade do you attach it to? Can you say that it's a bad product? Can you say it is a good product? What do you say? And also the laws themselves are not really the market laws that we have in place, the policies that we have in place don't favor to actually judge what is exactly a counterfeit, what is not, because the products are changing, and Uganda has to be able to keep up with the changing market scene all the time. So when you look at it, it's a situation that we can change, but it will require a lot of effort to do that. It will require increasing training the staff that are there. Some of them have been there for a very, very long time, so they are not trained. I mean, they have to be trained every other time, continuous sustainable training for them to keep up with all these things that are happening. And then of course some of them maybe will have 1 computer or 2 or something like that, and they don't even have sometimes they don't have transportation to go around looking having to be able to track what is changing and what is coming into their districts, into their markets, into their municipalities. And you see they are also resource constrained.
Right.
So
they need a lot of empowerment. Well, let's take a break. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. We'll be back to stay tuned.
Excuse me, what is this 300 shillings on my bill for?
That is for the tinted candles, madam.
And this 100 shillings?
That is for the air conditioning.
And this 200 shillings?
For the blue walls, ma'am.
I can't believe this!
Why pay for what you don't use or ask for? That's why we at Standard Chartered are introducing the Easy Go account, the first current account of its kind that gives you complete control of your banking charges. For more details, visit a Standard Chartered branch or call 0414-340077.
Would you like to leave me a tip, please?
Experience the thrill and unforgettable memory of gorilla tracking. Uganda Wildlife Authority is happy to offer you up to 40% discounts on gorilla tracking permits. Offer valid till 31st May. Whiskey. Enjoy the rare wildlife experience of tracking the world's few remaining mountain gorillas in windy impenetrable forests and Ngahinga National Parks. You can also enjoy many other activities like nature walks, hiking, birding, golden monkey tracking, culture and community experiences with the Batwa, and a lot more. Don't miss this opportunity.
Uganda Wildlife Authority, conserving for generations.
Legitimate whiskey is different. I am proud that we can now enjoy quality and taste. And style too. I have not felt so original with the liveliness I get each morning after I enjoy legitimate whiskey. Everything seems to be going my way. This is a worthy discovery. Legitimate whiskey is blended from carefully selected Scotch malt, giving it a golden amber appearance with a silky smooth and soothing taste for lasting satisfaction. Legitimate whiskey, a masterfully crafted blend, expertly blended, lighter and styled whiskey. Please enjoy responsibly.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight. What defines the relationship between the Ugandan business sector and government? Is government responding to the challenges the business sector is facing? Our guests, one of them from the Economic Policy Research Center, Dr. Annet Kutees, a research fellow in that place. They are affiliated to Makerere University. Also, Mr. Issa Sekitto, spokesman for Kizito, the Kampala City Traders Association. You will be out calling shortly and ask them questions direct. Mr. Sekitto, how do we get out of this imbroglio?
It needs a lot of confidence building, government trusting private sector, but also the private sector measuring up to the challenge. It's not a one-sided affair. The business people have no choice, because when the government comes with the policy, recently, and as we speak today, the Uganda Revenue Authority, the Kampala Capital State Authority, and the Uganda Registration Services Bureau have combined to massively go to the business community
and collect taxes,
and register members, and also try to enforce whatever laws they need to do. But when you see the way it is being done, the Uganda Revenue Authority collects the taxes and takes to the consolidated fund, somebody else spends. The KCCA collects and spends. The Registration Services Bureau is about enlarging and reducing the informal sector. So if you put them together, you are defeating the cause.
Explain that.
Because the business people would wish to face the person registering their companies solitarily, such that I can be able to expose all my ignorance before you. You educate me on how are the advantages of registering a company achieved. Now you come together with the revenue person. The more I tell you, the more you know more about me. The skepticism.
Is that because you want to avoid paying taxes?
The mandates of the three bodies are not in any way related. KCCA gets and spends it all.
Yes.
The Revenue Authority does not spend even a penny. So if I'm asking for roads from a KCC officer, the garbage collection, the toilets, the cleanness of the city, I will only ask about good treatment with regard to URA. So when you come out and tell government, please, can you emphasize the need for all these bodies to come to us in their own respective ways, such that we can understand what they are saying?
Yes.
They have refused, and they are pushing this with every force. It's only the military that has not joined. They come,
the red tops.
Yes, they come with the police, the cases enforcement, the revenue officers, the Registration Services Bureau, and I will tell you that the number of companies registering to reduce the informal sector today in downtown is reducing, because they see them as revenue collectors, other than people that want to remove them from this ignorance of not formalize their companies. So
it is defeating the plan to formalize business.
I was citing this to tell you that we need to do more than we are doing to reduce the gap of suspicion between government and the private sector. And this can only be seen to be done practically. The policies that are made at times look wonderful on paper.
Yes.
Go down, but people are ignorant about them. The East African community has chances. I will tell you, we agreed while we were going to the protocol that every locally grown material should be exchanged between the citizens freely. Today, to import
maize from Tanzania,
rice from Tanzania, I am signing memorandums of understanding and issuing deposit checks. You know why? They say Tanzania went and bought Pakistan rice. So for that matter, everybody must suffer. The trader on Room Street and the farmer in Tanzania, in Tanga, does not know what the policy is done, how the policy is done, and it does not have any mitigative measure. All he knows that Ugandan should come and buy my rice, I will go and buy the maize. If this is what needs to be done, how can URA implement this with impunity for over 6-7 months and government is not responding? So the speed at which government listens is when we cry. Is at times limited. That's why you see the final action plan is when you go to demonstrate why. But we don't love this. Nobody does not love the peace. A business person, if you go and stand in my stall, in front of my stall, for 5 minutes I will win fish to hit you. But when I decide that I will close for 5 days, it means I have cried to every authority and nobody is responding. So the sensitivity that the government puts at paper is not the same at which it is putting practically to have the issues resolved.
But you know the government is also busy. After Chankwanza, there's a lot of work to be done. Dr. Kutees, talk to us about some of these issues that is raising. How do you get them out of them?
As you said, a lot needs to be done. Yes, the speed is there. The speed is very slow, and one of them actually, one of these associations one of the associations I spoke with did mention that actually, yes, as actually Mr. Sekitto has put it, that usually demonstration is the last resort, and a lot of the time it is because you will go to the ministry will tell you that this is what we are going to do. We are working on it, and they are not working on it. But as I said, many times the ministry doesn't have the capacity to analyze the issue. It is constrained. It cannot. It has to be able to speak. It has to be able to call everybody on table, and everybody has to agree that this is going to help develop the country, because it's not only looking at the private sector. It has to be able to put into to come on board when something is also contributing to the development of the country. Now, in many cases, the private sector, what I really did notice is that when you see issues like interest rates, issues that have a time cost on them, this is when they will take to the streets. The moment something is costing them a lot, and those are issues, and yet the government doesn't know, it tends to sit back. Also, I also feel that in a way government tends to be laid back in being able to analyze for it on its own some of what is changing, some of the things that are happening in the private sector and could have a bad effect on the economy or even on the national. It's very, very laid back in doing that until when something really gets out of control, then okay, we'll attend to it. Or okay, we have a lot to do, but that one we'll attend to it. So sometimes they are also themselves very laid back and they need a push to do that.
Onto the streets.
It should not be the way to go. It shouldn't be the way to go.
In front of their offices.
It should not be the way to go. I do think that the best thing is to have a dialogue, to be called upon and sit down and actually negotiate. Now, the bigger body which I also did talk with, that was a private sector foundation, and PSFU said that sometimes actually it does tend to reach out to other private sectors, but private sector organizations, to be able to bring them on board, to be able to solve things amicably. But sometimes the associations are also very adamant and they want to take to the streets.
Like with the Uganda Association.
They want to take to the streets. So then it becomes, when it gets to that level, it becomes a lost cause.
So we have channels of communication.
The channels are there, but they may not work as quickly as the private sector wants. They may not work
would you say we have a structural sensitivity within government to some of these concerns? Do you have a listening there?
They do have, but it doesn't mean that just because I listen, I'll respond.
So what is the gap?
The gap is always, as I say, the gap is always the capacity. The way I've found out it is because everything has to be resolved.
They don't have risk assessors, analysts, forward-looking people to write papers to send to policymakers to actually implement it.
They don't have as many as would be, and what you really find out is that most of these policies are written. When you go out and you find that people are striking over something, there's already a policy on that maybe we should go to court, we should go to what. There's already a policy on that in the justice system already provides for that, so we should not be able to do another policy. It is the problem comes at the implementation. Now you find that the ministries themselves draft the policies but they don't implement. It is the local government and maybe the municipal councils and so on who implement these policies, and that is where everything goes wrong, because sometimes the municipals don't understand the policies, sometimes they haven't been involved fully. So as he said, maybe sometimes they're observers and they just get these laws, and so when it comes to implementing them they may not understand them. Sometimes they don't get the resources to implement these particular policies, so they will continue their usual way of doing, and then of course it's rubbing off badly on the private sector. And then sometimes it's just that the supervisory people, maybe from the ministries who are supposed to come down all the way to the local government to supervise to see if actually a policy is being followed, don't come. They don't come, and then there are dysfunctional relationships between local government officers and the top ministry. There are some of those, so that in itself gets in the way of being able to implement these policies. So sometimes the private sector, a lot of the time the private sector will bring its issues and they will be incorporated into policy many times, but when it comes to implementation,
that's where the problem is.
That's where the problem is. And when he talks about that the local person doesn't understand the policy, it is very, very possible that even within the people who are supposed to implement those, that is local government and maybe municipal councils, they also don't understand.
They don't know what PIVOC is in Uganda. Mr. Sekitto, talk to us about these policies and laws. Do you have enough, and what are the gaps there?
Yeah, we have a lot of wonderful papers, and I'll give you an example. One time we met the president of Uganda with a team of investors, the local investors, the people with money, people with $20 million on their accounts.
Some of it in homes.
They wanted to invest really in value addition because they were hearing this song of value addition. We met the president. The president instructed us to go to the National Planning Authority headed by Dr. Samba to get the papers and translate them into feasible, workable programs. I will tell you that the compatibility between the Ministry of Finance, privatization and whatever, and the National Planning Authority, they were not tallying.
What do you mean?
They were position papers, very elaborate policies, and the chairman of the National Planning Authority was on a different page, and the implementing Ministry of Finance, the section that was concerned to do that, was on a different page. So we desperately tried, mobilized the investors who would come up with the value addition initiatives. Go to Bamunanika, go to whichever area you are coming from. Can you start a small factory there? What are the government initiatives? All the incentives are on paper. The traders cannot access them. They even have accusations against the government wrongly that government only promotes foreign investors, and nobody has the capacity and ability to go and translate these policies across board. So the policies are there, they are not implemented. Look at the East African Community Framework. We agreed that, please, we shall not produce plastic bags below 30 microns as East Africa. Here is Kenya. Kenya is producing for export, and when they talk about export, they are talking about exporting to Uganda and Chukwu. So this has included all the industries, because for them they are sticking to the law, producing above 30 microns of plastic items and bags, and Kenya is producing 10 microns. So the capacity of the Ugandan local industries is being killed beyond recognition because they cannot operate under that arrangement. So you go to the ministry, you tell them, please, why did we go there? Is a Kenyan exporting to Uganda? We are all one. Somebody will not respond. So even the lines of communication, if you have a problem in Mwanza, if you have a problem in Mombasa about anything, you will ask yourself where to go. Do you go to the lawyer? Do you go to the Minister of Trade? Do you go to the Minister of East African Community Affairs? Do you go to the Council of Ministers? Do you go to Arusha? There is no set-up structure that a trader who has gotten a problem has got to go through this lineage, and then a problem will be solved within days. So don't be desperate. You pay dearly, you lose dearly, even when you would not. I will tell you that the government of Kenya agreed to waive 100% on all the vehicles that have overstayed in the port of Mombasa. The Commission of Customs in Uganda Revenue Authority said that, please, to give you a letter that these goods are coming here, you need to first pay the taxes. We are asking this man, you man, the vehicle has been there for 5-6 years. I don't know the state. Why don't you accept that I take
What's that man's name?
This? The Commissioner of Customs is Mr. Richard Kamajuku. Everybody knows that he said no, unless you paid the taxes here, then we shall give you a letter, you go to pick the vehicle,
after
you bring
6
it
years.
here. After how many years? We said no. Can we bring this vehicle? We evaluate it here. We know how much I'll pay as taxes. Then I get the difference out of what I will have spent. I'm telling you, up to today, this has, despite the fact that Kenya thought it was reasonable enough to excuse us, the Commission of Customs said no, you need to first pay the taxes.
Let's hear from the listeners. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. Our number is 0414-348-111, 031-226-0390, 031-226-1390. Spectrum, hello?
Yes, Mr. Kizito, good evening, sir.
Good evening, your name?
I'm called A.M. Seduke of Mtinda. First and foremost, I want to salute those guests. But however, I want to disagree with them because they have done a disservice. Why am I saying it? They know exactly what is happening. The traders, they connive with those officials in government to bring substantive goods into the country. So it's upon them that they should work together by the time Minister Issa Sekitto, such that we get those guys who are bringing sex goods in the market. We are consumers.
Spectrum, hello?
Hello.
Yes, your name?
Omar Ali.
Yes, Omar.
I would like the guests to comment on the fact that the business committee funds presidential elections in Uganda, especially the presidential elections. And also, I would like the business committee, I would like the hosts to reveal their plan for fitting Uganda in the global world scene with China as the next global trade partner. Thank you.
Spectrum, hello? Hello. Okay, let's get your responses to these questions. Dr. Kutees.
I think the first one was a comment.
Let's take a third caller first of all.
Hello, Radio 1.
Yes, sir, your name?
Yes, Edmond. Good evening.
Good evening, your name?
Yes, I salute those panelists.
Your name?
Name is Clay.
Yes.
However, mine is just a reservation. They have talked of all the impediments as far as businesses are concerned, that is export and whatever the case. But I want them to tell me what is their view as far as land transactions are concerned. Land is one of the vehicles of development in Uganda today. The land registry was upgraded to a computerized stage, but it appears as if now the system is more slower compared to prior to the computerization. Thank you. I would want to hear from them.
Let's hear the responses. Dr. Kutees.
Land is a very, very important asset in business because that's where we all put our businesses to operate and so on. So without it, we wouldn't be able to operate. Now, I don't, at this moment, I don't think I want to comment so much on that, but I did get to see when the private sector was partly involved in that, when they were trying to put up a new system to be able to help business people be able to acquire and access their titles really quickly. Now, I don't know, as to be frank with you, I cannot give you a view on why it has become very slow, but what I know about it is that it's become more transparent for most traders, those who want to take it and actually go and borrow money or acquire loans. It's become easier to be able to trace titles because of that. But as far as why it is slow, I can't go as much as to say why, but I think sometimes it's the new system and people are getting used to it. As they pick up the new system, then things get faster on that. Now, I did not get the third question. It was about China and as a global partner, yeah?
Yes, he was asking how Uganda would position herself to compete, understand the challenges of the big economies like that of China.
One of the things is to be able to understand. We should be able to identify where our competitive advantage lies with China, and today, right now, we seem to be importing a lot of China and Chinese labor in terms of, human resource. They are coming here to build our bridges here. They're coming here to build bridges and set up factories to produce for actually being able to sell to this market. They are producing really soft things like matchboxes and so on.
Which is not bad as well.
It is not bad because then you don't have to import and pay a higher price for it. So but we have to be able to analyze what our competitive advantage is with China, and when we see that,
sell them beans.
When we see that, we will be able to actually compete very well with China. Now, the other thing is that many of the people here are going to China for education there. And I'm so sure that when you go to China, of course, you pick skills there that you can bring here. And actually, many of them are in pharmacy, in ag, and in agriculture, and so on. A variety of skills that we can actually learn from and be able to build the industry here to be able to compete against China. So that's what I have.
There is hope, not only is lost.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Sekitto was saying that traders connive with the government officials.
Is that true?
The fake goods. Yeah, it is true to an extent. What we need to do, we will always be unscrupulous people, even when everybody thinks we should do the right thing. So what brings these people back are the good laws and implemented well. If you say we should test the goods, the traders say we shall not. At the end of the day, we sit, refine the agreement and agree. How do you go after, even before 6 months have lapsed and you are excusing others with the bulk of goods not to be tested? Then who is abusing the facility? So I think every greedy person.
So these are traders who are not with Kizito. Traders who are not with Kizito.
They could be with the Kizito even. But if they go and atravia, then you need to arrest them and have very big punishment.
But how do you arrest them? They're guarded by people even policemen are afraid.
You arrest those that are guarding them. Then the solution is
how
there.
How can you arrest those men?
We talked about the land issue. I'm telling you, it is as easy as forging any simple letter as forging a land title. You have your land title, you are keeping it, some 3 other people have it and have borrowed money. So many people are victims. You have heard us complaining about in fights between business people. One has a title, one has an offer. One has a title, the other title was issued 3 years ago, and the title is in the bank. So this thing of computerizing, I will accept that it's good to computerize.
Yes.
But while we are computerizing, we also need to adjust our mindsets.
How do we do that?
These people at the registry of the land should not act politically, should not act with the corruption.
What do you mean politically?
No, they have. Somebody can. I wish you had had the details of a Randrango involving Mr. Jingo Charles,
yes,
Teona Bale, for a piece of plot where officials in the State House ordered, because this is what he told me, Honorable Match,
go on,
to write an offer for somebody,
be not afraid,
who is not the owner, the rightful buyer, and he has every evidence, and is being told and ordered to produce a title, and he has a title.
Yes.
The matter is in court, and this is just the eye opener. The land costs $1.5 million. It is directed to somebody who is wrong, and with authority from some State House officials. This has been open. So, however much we should wish to computerize, we should also adjust.
The politics should be clean.
Exactly.
Finally, yes, finally.
There is this global thing between
China.
All we need to do is to concentrate on a comparative and competitive advantage.
Right.
We have a well-educated society. We are not utilizing it. If on top of the many, if on top
in South Sudan we sell bogoyan beans.
Yes, that's the best we could do. Can we grow more bogoyan beans
and popcorn?
And then we shall go. Food is one of the most sellable items. Without food, you can't survive.
Thank you very much, Leader. Dr. Annet Kutees, Research Fellow at the Economic Policy Research Center out of Makerere University. Thank you for coming to Spectrum tonight. Mr. Issa Sekitto, Spokesman for Kizito, the Kampala City Traders Association. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. So Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Up next is the news in English.
Hey, Miss Namyalo, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, isn't Biaruhanga is here? Mr. Okon.
Oh, Atie,
I'm so happy to see all of you. Come in. You're very welcome.
Just like Stella warmly welcomes you to her house at Finance Trust, we have always been your trusted financial institution. You have grown, and we've grown too. And now that we have become a commercial bank, our doors are open for you to grow even further. Come and enjoy fast, convenient, and accessible banking services. Welcome to Finance Trust Bank. Finance Trust Bank, putting women first.
This is a warning from Kabode Meditex. All the germs in this house, gather around this radio and listen well, because I will only say this once. You germs, I have seen how miserable you make the lives of our children. You take away their health and happiness. You make them too sick to play or learn. You make them get